Do we say happy Monday or just Fridays? But welcome aboard the news review segment. I hope your weekend was great. Joining me in the studio for us to review the newspapers this morning is George AC, former PRO for NADMO, as well as Mr. Mohammed Bataglia. He's Member of Parliament for Sisala East. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Great. Usually we give our guests a couple of minutes to walk us through what's on their mind. It could be a reflection on any topical issue, but since Mr. AC is familiar with it, I'd like to start with him first. George, what would you share with us this morning?
I don't know, but I think I just read this morning the Director General of GS is relieved of his position. Yeah, it's what we all anticipate and envision that is going to happen. So we're looking at this processes, changing government and changing institutional leadership and what's the way forward? It's about time, I think, we'll look at the structural progression of individuals within state institutions. I think that will be the way to go. I'm not saying this is wrong, no, but that's been the practice. So then sometimes some institution like Ghana Education Service, people progress to Director General, right? So that whether there's a change in government or not, people within the establishment know they're going to be progressing.
There's some sort of line of succession.
Yes, yes. You know, the Ghana Police, the Ghana Education Service, Immigration, other state institutions. I think it's about time we look at things that way going forward so that people will have the confidence that if I work hard, I can climb to the topmost position of my institution. Sometimes you'll be there and a politician. You know, I am a politician. I was appointed communications director. Somebody will be taking over from me, fine. But I'm looking at that way, like some of the strategic state institutions. Can it be that people will progress and then get to the top? It doesn't matter which party wins, okay? He's assured of his position. And the last one about IGP, because if you look at it, the confidence with which he was working is not there today. You get it?
What are you
people, because people you read today, tomorrow will retain him, will not retain him. So, you know, he's a bit cautious, okay? But if it were institutional progression, not political appointments, okay, that he rose to that position on merit, whether MPP or an NDC, he is the Inspector General, and he has 4 years or 3 years tenure. He doesn't care who wins the election or who loses the election.
Right.
It's good for institutional growth and progression. Okay. That's the comment.
Thank you. Mr. Bataglia, there's a lot happening in the country.
Yeah, he's honorable. But
honorable. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. But before I go to what's on my mind, this is a very big platform and my maiden appearance. Permit me kindly to use this platform to also say a very big thank you to my constituents, especially the chiefs, women, children. I think that the Sisala land have offered many sons and daughters this opportunity to contribute. And I think my predecessors have done quite well trying to improve lives. I'm only hoping and praying that we will have a collaborative form of leadership to be able to enhance life, make life better for our people. The philosophy is simply that I think that my duty is to make sure that I amplify the potential, not emphasizing on sympathy, because sympathy will only give you what arms. But if you are able to amplify the potential of the area, you get investment that will transform lives. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Yeah, now zeroing down to the question you asked, clearly there have been a lot of things going around in there, but one of the biggest issues that is in my mind regards the conduct of Parliament for now. As a new first-timer in Parliament, there have been the narrative out there recently that we had the NDC have a super majority that is quite weak, and the MPP has a micro minority that is quite strong. But for me, I differ from those perspectives. I think that Parliament is a house of democracy. And as indicated by the leader, President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, indicated that the fact that the NDC has over 183, plus, I'm indicating plus the independence, We are not going to take undue advantage of processes to make governance quite difficult. No. I also want to say that, yes, a lot of people are now on our leaders, trying to make them look as if they are weak. We could understand their emotions, we could understand their sentiments, believing that they want us to be able to act in a certain manner that will show that we are pinning the MPP to a corner. But I think that, well, democracy, you have to give everybody the opportunity to express their views. Yeah. One other important thing before I go is my dear sister, Agnes Namomo, Honorable. I think there's been news recently regarding her late arrival at her swearing-in day. I know her. Fortunately, I have schooled with her, and I know how meticulous she is, how punctual she is to duty. Clearly, I'm happy to have heard from the government spokesperson, indicating that it was an admirable secretary that took her out of Accra, and that is why she was late for it.
Yeah. And they had actually made alternate arrangements for the president's speech, and so it's not that she was late. It was actually to her credit. I listened to Felix.
Has she been reinstated?
Not yet. She wasn't she was just not sworn in.
So oh, okay,
okay. With the next batch.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Because I read that she's been fired.
No, no.
It's too harsh.
We blow things.
I didn't know President Mahama to be.
Yeah. Apparently, she had a family emergency.
Yes,
she had informed the team,
so there was empathy and
yeah. Well,
I read that she's been fired. I said, what?
See, misinformation.
Okay, yes. No, I read it.
Yeah. Let's get into the newspapers now. Start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, Dasibre Ekwuamwa Boateng III takes oath as Kwewu Paramount Chief. Financial indiscipline rocks MMDAs. 10-year audit reveals 242.84 million Ghana cedis in irregularities. Africa Prosperity Dialogues open January 30th, and President appoints Kpesa White to head SIGA. The Daily Graphic this morning is as thick as it comes. But let's start from this financial indiscipline that is rocking the MMDAs. Now, the story reads, there is no end in sight concerning the irregularities and general indiscipline on the books of metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in the country. The Daily Graphic's 10-year assessment of the Auditor General's reports on the accounts of the district assembly show that irregularities have built up to the tune of 242.84 million Ghana cedis and still on the rise. And I just want to skip to the part where it says, from 9.1313 million Ghana cedis in 2014, the irregularities recorded by the MMDAs each year jumped to 30.79 million Ghana cedis in 2015, before peaking at 72.86 million in 2016. It goes on and on and on and on. What are we doing with these? Where's the money going? George AC.
Yeah, this technicalities and co, if you talk of irregularities, sometimes it's not necessarily embezzlement. Okay, so when the auditors themselves explain it, it's better. Irregularities can include monies given, paid, but the documents have not been fully, receipts and co have not been returned yet, you get it. And so as of the time the auditors were doing their work, the documents needed to, buttress the fact that this money is being officially expended had not been brought in yet.
Let me give you some context.
Okay.
So it's saying that, for example, talking about the, the type of irregularities. The 66 MMDAs employed 366 people to collect revenue within their jurisdictions in the last 3 years. And guess how much they paid them? They paid them 7.82 million Ghana cedis as salaries. And now guess how much they collected in that revenue? They collected 3.99 million Ghana cedis.
That is worry, because
that's wild.
The assemblies, were trying to see if the private sector can help them increase revenue. That's why they did outsourcing to the private sector. Unfortunately, this cannot be value for money. This cannot be value for money. So if that is also considered an irregularity, then this one there, it's worrying. We need to begin to reconsider the process of outsourcing, okay, to the private sector to collect revenue on behalf of the assemblies, especially assemblies that have market centers and other things. If the assembly officer, because there were times, it's part of the irregularities where it was established that in a certain metropolitan assembly, individuals tasked with the responsibility of collecting revenue were having a double receipt printed their own receipts and then the official receipt of the assembly. You get it? So they were issuing out their receipts more than that of the assembly, and it came out. So I think people were punished for that. So maybe that is the reason why they wanted to outsource it to the private sector. But this cannot be value for money. And then the other ones I was talking about, they are also part of it. And then using monies meant for maybe point A, water, procure something, and then for another thing. That's also part of the irregularities. And some too are cash advance to staff of the assemblies or something, but had not been repaid as of the time and co. So all these things are factored into, but it's worrying, moving from 9.5 around in 2015 to 200 plus. It's staggering, and we need to take steps to ensure that we can nip this in the bud.
We're always talking about decentralization and ways to, improve local governments. And if this is what we are seeing, it's terrifying.
Very.
How does this make you feel?
Well, I think that I, to a very large extent, agree with my brother, I see. And looking at it, to me, if you ask me, I would try to say that we need some national orientation and trying to place our country right. The fact is that we try to find out how do we act towards this country called Ghana. Trust me, we as politicians receive the most bashing because normally the faces are out there, but the actual architect that cripples this economy are not politicians. So it is for this reason that we think that people should be made accountable and people should be made aware of the responsibilities ahead of them when they are taking any office. For instance, we could have political pressures that will force you to pick up people just for the name of employment, but in actual sense, you are doling out money to them. I think the time has come for us to correct all these anomalies, making sure that there's value for money for whatever we do. Whatever we do, MMDAs should make sure or should be held accountable. Sometimes we come and it's like we do it for the optics. People can give explanations. Some genuine, as my brother I see indicated, where definitely there have been some expenditure being incurred, yet they have not been able to reconcile their documents. It doesn't necessarily mean that some money has been pilfered or some embezzlement took place. But some are also deliberate, where they cause so much financial loss to this country, just in the name of satisfying a group of people for political populism. So that one, we should be able to check that and make sure that individuals that have given the position of responsibility are held accountable and to be made to pay in all forms as the law prescribes when it affects our country. Because this is something that is drawing us backwards. It doesn't matter the government that is in power. Once people do not orientate themselves to be honest to this country, we will always be in this quagmire.
Does that feed into the narrative of, when you talk about holding them accountable, do you think that when we elect these MMDCs and the rest, that would help hold them accountable? What are your views on that?
For me, I think that, like it's been discussed before, previously both political parties were almost at a point that we agreed to this. Yes. But for the fact that others wanted it to go partisan, others wanted to, but it means that we are drawing, for me as a parliamentarian, I think that if MMDCs, per the Constitution, my function is just to be able to formulate laws. Yeah. Principally. But now I am seen more as a development agent in my constituency, even the DC who is representing or mirroring the president. So he has no responsibility. Every person will come to your house. Issues will be brought to your office as a parliamentarian. But if these people are also subjected to those elections, I am sure they will be held accountable. Okay. Thank God the Ghanaian voter has always, but now has over-amplified the fact that they are more discerning than before. Okay. No politician will be able to take them for granted again. Right.
And this is a good time to usher in our new presidential staffer into the conversation. Congratulations.
Sweetie.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How does it feel? How did the news come to you? I think you were on the news review that day. And then later that evening, we got the news that you'd been appointed. Yeah.
It came to me as, I don't know, but as a surprise though.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm grateful and I thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for reposing trust in me to work with him in his office directly. And it's a position of trust. And I promise him I'm not going to fail him, because I know that we need to change the trajectory of events in Ghana. And I'll put in my best to ensure to help him in his resetting agenda.
Okay. When people talk about the president's appointment and not only appointing along party lines, I mean, you are one of the reference points because you're not an NDC member. No. I think it was only at the last part of during the election campaign season that I saw you at some rally ground or so to support the president. So, well, congratulations. But before you came, we're talking about financial indiscipline that's rocking the MMDAs, and a 10-year audit revealing that 242.8 million Ghana cedis alone have been uncovered in irregularities. Maybe a quick comment on that, and then we move on to other stories.
Thank you, Sweetie. Good morning to your viewers, and good morning to my brothers here. It's this irregularities that, I mean, has appeared now, keeps coming up. I was a public servant for 27 years, and it keeps coming up. And I believe that we need to get to the core, what really happens that these things come up. Some of the irregularities can be procurement breaches. It can be, I mean, money that was not used properly and all that. So what kind of system? I mean, going forward, we need to, as Ghana, sit down in a stakeholder meeting and find out how we deal with these leakages. You remember at a point, even at the Lands Commission, even though their payment systems are digitalized, a worker was able to infiltrate. And so it's a systemic problem that we need to look at. And I believe it is time. We cannot continue losing money like this. As Honorable was saying, the MMDCs, they are agents of development in their various areas. But now, because of some of these issues, the MPs have become agents of development. It's a lot of stress on them because they need to do roads, because they are looking after the people, as it were, and they are also looking at development. Meanwhile, the Assembly Common Fund doesn't come to them directly. So we really need to rethink the structure around the local government system, and also need to find out how we can deal with some of these leakages. It is very key.
All right, thank you. Let me just do two more stories from the Daily Graphic and we move on. It says 1 in 10 adolescent girls engage in sex before turning 15. Wow. Who's having sex with these girls? 1 in every 10 adolescent girls between the ages of 10 and 19 had sexual intercourse before 15 years of age. That's the study by the Ghana Statistical Service in a 2022 report. Now, the study extracted from the 2022 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey said the figure amounted to 10.2% of adolescent population, which constituted 22% of the country's total population. We have a problem. This is a big problem. But please hold for me. Let me do two more stories, and then we can discuss. NDC founder, member endorses Ablakwa for foreign ministry job. And then NPP embarks on nationwide review of election 2024. They've been at it for a while. Focus on agricultural industrialization, consolidating 24-hour economy policy. Nana Chapim should help us put that in perspective. And then on the back page, Legon City secure crucial victory over Gold Stars. Kotoko jump to top spot.
Wow. Narrow
win. These and many stories in the Daily Graphic. Pick one for yourself and get into the stories. But let's discuss this. Who's having sex with 10 to 19-year-old girls? 10 to 15-year-old girls? That's defilement, isn't it?
I spoke before you.
It's defilement.
Yes, it is. But what are your reflections on this?
Yeah, it's worrying. Let me congratulate Nanaya. Last week we were here. We were saying she should be. I was saying PURC, and she was saying, well, why not minister? and it's good. Presidential staff is elevation and recognition, as she said. Congratulations, and grateful to His Excellency for recognizing her contributions to the cause. 1 out of 10, 10 to 15 Yes, adolescent. There are laws in this country that make this punitive, and we need to go. GSS survey has brought it into the public domain. I've worked with Child Rights International before, and they're very keen on some of these things. And Bright Appiah and his team are not charitable with some of these things when they come out. And so when there's a survey that points to the fact that they are happening in our communities, it's worrying. And it's been there for many years, especially if you've also seen the workings of PPAG, Planned Parenthood, of Ghana. You know, you see that teenage or adolescent pregnancies were prevalent sometime, and so their engagement, education, in you know, using protection in sex and co. But the issue is it right for these kids to be engaging in sex? In the survey, if you go into details, you get to know that some of the reasons are economic factors. Some are economic. Some too are they are not having access to shelter. You get it? When you go to some places, you see them sleeping, not only in Accra, in Cape Coast. There was a research. Even Child Rights did those research, and some of the cases. And cultural matters, sweetie. There are some places, if a girl at 13 is not pregnant,
something must be wrong with it.
Yes.
That's
It's there. It's there. Yes. If you are 13, 15 and you don't have a child, they call you Saji or something in the fancy area. It means you're barren. Okay?
A particular geographical area.
Yeah.
If you place it as culture in any form can be both a springboard and a trap. At one point, it sounds good. Another point, it can also be a problem. So how do we then strike a fair balance to make sure that we don't completely throw our culture away, but we do things that favors us in the... Besides that, I think that the concept of responsibility also counts, because, you see, the level at which you have responsibility over somebody will also determine the control you have. Then we talk about the modernity. In some other jurisdictions, modernity brings about development and advancement. But in our jurisdiction, modernity introduces the negativity to our young ones a lot. I have had the opportunity to talk to students at the secondary school, and I said that if you are a speaker or somebody who goes to talk to young people at that level, you are challenged with a very difficult issue. Why? Because even at that stage of their life, they are in conflict with themselves. Whatever goes against their future, that's what they adore. And whatever will make them better people, that's what they are against. So even if you see a teacher that likes to come to the class very early or punctual, they name you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah.
So one time I gave a quote of Jim Rohn, who says that in life, somebody must necessarily go through two pains, the pain of sacrifice or the pain of regret. But clearly, the pain of regret weighs more as compared to the pain of sacrifice. So I think that the gender ministry, I am sure this time, we should not just reduce it to school feeding. We should make sure that we put in the adequate measures to make every stakeholder should play a role. Because this one, some years past, I think I sat in a program where they even indicated at the age of 9 years, people are sleeping with the children. And even some, like he did mention about culture, where we are coming from rural constituencies, sometimes we see helpless mothers doing everything to save their girl child, but society is against that. To the extent that even communities will clash because they think that there's a tradition that when they pick a young girl from that, you don't have to come for. And that is a big challenge. More so, I will end on a point that Nana Jantua indicated, like people will naturally act according to what they see. When they have access, unfettered access to things that we don't have control over. That's one thing. And I also think that role modeling will also be a point. I'm sure going into the future, some of you who are role models should move out of the studios to the schools to let them see the reason why they have to work for themselves and become better.
Yeah.
It's a society we have to come together to build. It's not just one person's a responsibility. Thank you.
I like that you called on the gender ministry. I think there are so many foundations out there and initiatives who are doing things for young girls. It doesn't end at distributing sanitary pads and, you know, going to schools to talk to them. If the ministry can collaborate with some of these institutions, NGOs especially, I think we can, well, the work that remains is huge, but we can cut it in at least half by percentage, because then people, individuals are doing part of the work for the ministry, and hopefully we get to a point where the numbers will reduce.
And I believe this report should, this report should be looked at carefully. It came out in 2022, and I'm taking the initiative to go to the Ghana Statistical Service to pick the report and really read it thoroughly and see what kind of measures can be put in place. So that, I mean, I know that the gender minister would also do a lot of work. Okay. But I'll pick it up and see what is there, and also collaborate with her to see how we can deal with this matter.
Thank you. Yes. Let's get into other papers now. Should I start with you?
No, okay, The Economy Times, commodity markets outlook, promising for cocoa and gold. Commodity markets outlook, promising for cocoa and gold. Ghana reigns globally in fintech as WEF declares digital economy as the future of Africa. Yes. Inclusivity to be integral pivots for Mahama's economic team. Inclusivity to be integral pivots for Mahama's economic teams. That's the Finance Minister, Dr. Ghc Ato-Forson. Should I take one, or we should move to the next?
Let's move to...
Okay. Fatimatu urges MPP, that's a publisher, the Ghanaian publisher. Fatimatu urges MPP to prioritize unity amid post-election reflections. That's the former Minister for Information. PUWU rejects Mahama's ECG privatization move.
Even threatening industrial action.
2025, WEF recognizes Dr. Bawumia's digitalization agenda. Ato-Forson pledges prudent fiscal management. I would rather die than accept LGBTQ plus practices in Ghana. So
that's an interesting one.
Bagwin, yes. So we take one?
Yes. I have a question in mind. You know, the president said that this bill died with the 8th Parliament. So now Alban is saying that he would rather die than live in a society where men and all that. And then he says he's going to speak to Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayeni to see how they can move it forward. Isn't that contradictory to what Alban Bagwin said? That he's going to consult Dr. Dominic Ayeni to see how they can move the bill forward. But the president is saying the bill died with the 8th Parliament.
I have a challenge. I believe the legal brain should come and explain, or we take it to the Supreme Court for clarity. Sweetie, the Parliament, the 8th Parliament passed the bill, concluded its work, and handed it over to the Clerk of Parliament to be forwarded to the presidency. It was indeed forwarded, okay? But the president said because of a Supreme Court case, hold on. So it's moved from there. Parliament is served to the administrative wing of Parliament. It is concluded. So how then do you tell me it's expired? Okay? So we need to look at that. There's nothing. Parliament, the 8th Parliament concluded its work. It's not like there's debate going on, the Parliament is closed, so that one we agree you must start. It's finished. Okay? So take it, the Supreme Court finished, gave its judgment, and the then president was clothed with the powers within the 1-2 weeks to have signed it. He didn't sign it. So you cannot tell me that because of that, it's no. Okay? It's an administrative wing, and the administrative wing of Parliament never expires.
Well.
Okay? So please,
so what's
let's
the president
look at that.
talking about?
No, and Bagwin, I heard Honorable Bagwin also saying that it can take 1 year to do something. Within this year, it can be passed. I believe he's just thinking it should be brought back, you know, for some processes to be gone through and then forwarded to the president. But I think in its state now, it can be forwarded to the president for accept.
Okay.
Okay, that is my thinking, because it didn't die because the parliament concluded its work on it.
Okay, and I'll come to you. I see.
But we need the lawyers. We need the lawyers. We need the lawyers to make that argument to situate it proper. Yeah,
okay.
but I was saying maybe I'll take it to the Supreme Court for proper interpretation.
My excitement is based on the fact that I try to define who the politician is at any point in time.
Okay.
You see, this.
Why is the definition circumstantial?
Maybe because these issues are, he's raised a very good point. We have to go to Supreme Court. All these things could have been nipped in the bud if that bill had been signed.
Yes, at the time.
Why were we dragging?
Oh, well, the president said there was a legal...
No, there were processes.
And it bordered on human rights.
I understand that, yes. But it's really, if you were even having some reservations, the Constitution indicated what you should do and refer it back. That could have been done. But today, my understanding of Alban Babin, the Speaker's statement is that, yes, is dead and go, but we can revive it through another process. So that's why he said he was going to write. He will be writing to the Attorney General to see how, within now and in the year's time, we should be able. But one thing I know, lawyers will always tell you, because I've listened to many of them, they will tell you that law is value neutral. It's just like an empty box or bottle. It's what represent or what reflects our aspirations that we fit in there and adopt as law. What is good for us as Ghanaians? Let's all begin to look at it. The politics of it is becoming too much. Meanwhile, we are losing fact of the main issues that keep us as a people. We have an identity. I told somebody, it is not for nothing that the phantom drum is louder than the what? The piano. Yet we dance to the phantom drum and do not dance so much to the piano. We are Africans. If we think that this defines who we are and we can hold on to it, why don't we do that?
I like that. The phantom drum and the piano.
The phantom is loud.
Yeah, the phantom drum is loud. The piano. But we like it. As you mean if you are playing the phantom drum in the Western world, maybe they might see that you are making noise, but we adore it because that's who we are. Why are we not looking at it as a people so that we begin to do things that reflect who we are rather than trying to adopt things in the wholesale manner? That changes our culture. And I think we have a lot to talk about. These things that we are seeing today, talking about case bingo, all those things also have a lot of influence on us. And I think that as a people, let's begin to put this politics aside. Ghanaians are becoming so fed up with what we say and not do. Let's all come on board and make sure that we get this done. Okay.
Nanaya, granted, the phantom drum is ours and the piano is Western, but in this day and age, where we say the world is now a global village, these people who practice LGBTQ+I.
You see how you qualify them, these people. So I'm just trying to tell you that is what it is.
Explain what you mean.
I mean that they don't do the things the right way that God wants us to do it. So
Trump has issues.
Even Trump has yes. Trump has signed the bill.
And now there's just two gender in America.
Yes,
man, woman.
that is what he said. So that is the way we are going.
But that's for transgender and all those people. The people, gay people. I mean, when I talk about these people, I meant gay people.
Yeah.
And I don't.
God is against them.
I think that at some point we might have to step outside the religious circle or protection of the Bible and all that and look at this as human beings, right? No, I don't think we should judge people for their sexual orientation.
We are not judging nobody.
And the bill does not seek to prosecute
My dear, we are not judging anybody. What you do inside your room is nobody's business. But we needn't also want to allow it to fester and take over our nation. Do you get me? We want to do it the right way. You see, before I was telling somebody that before, if you have a daughter whose mother is your friend and the daughters are together, you are not afraid. But today when you see your friend's daughter and your daughter being too close, sleeping in the same room, yes, you get scared. Do you understand? We needn't change our orientation because of people saying this is my sexuality. Everybody was born a woman. Everybody was born a man. You see, I want to say that in every person, you have a little of the male genetics in you.
Yeah.
Somebody else has a little of the female genetics. That doesn't make you a man. Somebody's, or me, for instance, I think mine is higher than, do you understand?
Yeah, we have that.
Do you understand? But it doesn't make me a man. Because the things that women will do will take me, I'm not afraid. Do you understand? So it is like that, but it doesn't make me a man. It doesn't make another person a woman. That is our makeup. So you don't, because of you have some prominence of something in you, you say that I am a man, then you go and change everything. At the end of the day, you find out that they are miserable. They are lost. They don't even, when you get close to them, at the end, the tail end, they are confused.
Yeah, I've watched documentaries that show some of them wish they hadn't even started.
Yes, yes, they are confused. Yeah. Because the hormones are just TikTok. They are confused.
But let's bring it back to Ghana about between what the speaker is saying and what President Mahama said a few days ago.
No, you see, the hula baloo about everything didn't make it what it should be. Going to court, backwards, forwards. So you couldn't even process it carefully or in the right context. So I think that maybe he said that just because he thinks that let's do it again. Because he said this time it is not going to be a private member. That's what I heard him say. But that government is going to take over and make it, take it to parliament from the end of government. It shows commitment that he wants to do it. I don't think that, and he said it severally, that he as a Christian, there's no way he would agree to this. So I don't think that him saying that it's ended with parliament, it means that he doesn't want, no. Okay. The processes, because the processes were too murky. It goes to court, it comes back, this one, I won't sign, I will sign. So it was too murky. So it is like, okay, let's redo it. Let's go back and maybe same content, a little tweaking here and there, and let's pass it.
Okay.
Yeah. We use this as a political ball game.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a political. But you see, I was happy that former president didn't sign it at the twilight of the administration, because it comes with economic impositions and other things, okay? So it would have meant that you sign.
Are you sure? I've had a different narrative.
No.
Doesn't come with any imposition.
I wanted, it does. There are consequences. I wanted, in fact, I was one of the people saying on air that President Kufuor should sign and won't sign. You get it. But later, I realized, no. If he signs it, he's imposing something on the incoming administration. And when there are economic challenges and people will blame him that. So let the incoming take the
no, but the point is that
because of the economic ramifications
from the World Bank and those
yes.
No, but you see, that is.
But fortunately, the world had Trump now, and
now Trump is yes. I'm saying that
Trump. That's a no nonsense.
Let's move on. Public workers, PUW, right? They're against ECG's privatization. In fact, they're threatening industrial action. Anaya, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah. I mean, we discussed this.
Yes.
They're citing the failure of PDS and all that, and they're saying that we have people who can actually do the work, and so don't outsource, don't privatize.
I mean, don't worry. The point is that you see there's a 7-member committee that has been set. Everything will be looked at. I am saying that whatever it is, we need to look at ECG from top to bottom, because most of the leakages are enormous. And the financial burden on governments mostly comes from the distribution company. And we need to tear ECG as on paper and say, at the top is management, at the middle is middle management, there is procurement, there are issues to do with revenue and leakages. So where is the problem?
Right.
When we look through everything and we see what the problem is, it will determine what kind of structure we should put in place. Okay. And also, we have our stakeholder consultations. Pool will be one of them to look at.
In fact, they said they haven't been engaged.
The process has just started.
Right.
Do you get the process has just started, and there'll be a meeting on I think Wednesday or something like that. And the process has just started, and we would put everything in perspective. I would want whatever that we do, for once, we need to tear down ECG. ECG told us that their losses somewhere last 2024 was because of Forex, because of the exchange rate, and the Forex depreciated their income by, I think, some 50% or so. We need to look at it. Okay. What are we doing? What is it that ECG is always problematic? As we do it, we have to also look at NEDCO, the distribution service at the northern sector. they also make losses. And what is accounting for their losses? So we need to look at procurements. The minister went and inspected, I think, 3 million meters that have been in the warehouse all this time. That is a loss. And that is not a revenue collection loss.
Yeah.
Do you get me? That is a procurement loss. So we need to find out how many meters are there, how many transformers, and where are they procured from.
Okay.
Do you understand? Right. So we need to look at it holistically, put ECG there, and look at it. If we go in and we find out that whatever is happening can be resolved with a team that is in place, why not?
Okay.
But if we need to see that there should be changes, then we look at what kind of structure that we have to use to make, because we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue to have a burden, a financial burden, because of our distribution company. Okay. It is key.
Quick comments on this and we get to other stories.
Yeah, like I think that he's a very experienced person in that field. And we admire her knowledge and experience. And what I just want to say is that in doing all of this, we should have the bigger picture in mind. I think that it should be more of the general Ghanaian populace and less of just the workers. Why? Because I think that if what we are going to do will benefit the entire Ghanaian population, we should focus on that more. But I also do agree we should be able to bring in the right people. Let's have the industry players do the right consultation with the indicate transparency. I think we've gotten to a point in leadership that Ghanaians do not want promises. All they want is for you to be candid. Prove to them that you are honest with them. Ghanaians who are discerning, they will come, tighten their belt, and help you solve a problem. Okay. That's what I want my government to go.
All right.
Yes, the ECG arena. Now we see about, I stand to be corrected, 60% fossil fuel usage, HFO and other things.
That one is the generation side.
Generation, yes. And you know, so I'm dovetailing it into the cost factor and the losses that we incur. My good brother, John Jinapo, I have confidence in him that he will be able to work to transform the area. But the question has been, is it going to be at the management level or what, the privatization? And me, when I hear the NDC talking privatization, I'm a bit worried because we are the privatization-driven, people. They are socially, they are socially inclined. And so when they begin to go that way, then I say, hey, if the socialists
but we have just a couple of minutes.
In fact, that is to bring efficiency to bear in the sector. And the losses, as Nana said, is huge. I've heard some, some even quoting 40%. You get it, but above 30% is huge, and it's not acceptable.
It's very, even 20-something.
Yes. So let's see how we can.
I have my
headlines. Yeah, just the headlines.
Okay, NDC MP slams party over vetting criteria. CDD boss extend gratitude to President Mahama for appointment. NDC tax bitter police Akwabenya. Fan Milk apologizes for accident on Achimota Tesano overhead bridge. And I think that's about it.
Okay.
Omari Wade scar returned, but he vows to fight back.
Okay. Any of these?
There's a major one. You didn't read that.
Which one is this? Okay. Another Apollo 568 looms as Mahama targets public workers employed in December, January.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's get some headlines from Mr. Bataglia as well.
Well, we have the news center, right? Baumia to highlight governance, ethical leadership, integrity in Nigeria today. Then we have Atufosan, government to prioritize prudent fiscal management, Dr. Atufosan.
Yeah.
Then there's a question here, is Lordina influencing Mohammed's appointments?
Is she? That's a question I would like you to answer. What are your thoughts? That should be the last thing we do. Don't worry, we'll get into that in a minute.
I don't think so. I think that what I'm seeing so far is like this a collaborative agreement between the NDC party and the presidency. Yes.
Okay.
The names that have been appointed, it shows me there's a consensus.
Okay, but the question is
because
if
those
Dina
people
was influencing it.
You cannot take that out.
Okay.
She can contribute, but influencing it, now the names that are out, I see Edun Ketia, Fifi Kwete, the presidency, all of them working together to put the names out.
I think, and this one, I don't think it's anything we should talk about.
I didn't even think it was a question.
No, because I don't think...
Certainly.
Because what he's saying is what I also see. I mean, and I don't see how... He's a first lady, she's a first lady, and she has a privileged position, but it doesn't mean that she's doing appointments.
In fact, even if she were to influence, I think it falls in her hands.
Yeah.
She can always suggest.
She can suggest. The decision lies with the party, with the president, and yes, they shouldn't put pressure on her.
Without admitting that she's influencing, her influence really resonates with the Ghanaian sentiments. Having Nana and all the people who have seen been appointed so far indicate that. But the one thing is that as a new parliamentarian, I think the president met us as a whole and made it clear to everybody. I think we understand. The important thing is to get this country moving.
Moving, that's all.
Now, for me, people are just talking about, let me tell you, there's more to political functions than political titles.
Yes.
You can have a title without any function.
Yes.
People should look for functions that will better the lives of people. That's what they focus on.
Thank you all so much for joining us.
Some people just like the title.
In my case, I didn't want to say, but he has said it. He told me, get up and go and work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was waiting for my letter. And he said, it'll come, go and work.
Go and work?
Yes.
Are you following what's happening in Trump? I want to say Trump versus Colombia. You know,
yeah, for
24 hours.
Hey, Trump.
And thank you all so much for joining us. Those
That's
who joined us for
Axie, man.
It's my PRO for Nadmo. Mohammed Bataglia is Member of Parliament for Sisala East. And of course, Nanaya Achapim Janswa, Presidential Staffer. Please stay. Sports comes up next on the AM.
Yeah.